International diplomatic efforts aim to revive Yemen's truce. Government forces clash with Houthi rebels on Taiz front. UN warns the 20 health facilities to close in Yemen due to funding crisis. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English News to me, Shazad Guddain. Rashad Al-Alimi, chairman of the Presidential Leadership Council, met with the Assistant Secretary of the European Union, Enrique Mora, and the Deputy Director of the Middle East and North Africa. In addition, the meeting focused on the developments in Yemen, the ongoing efforts to renew the truce, and the European pressures required to push the Houthi militia to deal positively to peace efforts. UN Special Envoy to Yemen Hans Grunberg concluded a visit to UAE, where he met the diplomatic advisor to the President of the UAE. Grunberg discussed the latest developments related to the Yemeni crisis and international efforts to find a peaceful solution that ends the suffering of the Yemeni people. The U.S. State Department said its Special Envoy to Yemen, Tim Linder-King, is going to start a new visit to the region today. Linder-King's visit comes to support the intensive negotiations with the Yemeni parties to reach an agreement on the humanitarian truce. The failure to extend the UN truce can push Yemen into another chapter of violence and military escalation. This report has more details.
Amid rising UN criticism over its shaky commitment to the truce, the Iran-backed Houthi militia advocated withdrawal from the process and a return to bloodshed. Within hours after the truce's expiration, a Houthi official said that assaults on Saudi and UAE sites were feasible, and deadly clashes began north of Taiz. Earlier this month, the U.S. envoy to Yemen, Tim Linder-King, blamed the recent failure to prolong the country's truce on rebel Houthi leaders, accusing them of making last-minute maximalist demands that brought constructive talks to a halt. Linder-King stated that the Houthis hijacked the discussions by abruptly demanding that their military and security forces be paid before Yemeni government employees. Currently, the distance between Riyadh and Muscat is rife with diplomatic efforts to return the parties to the Yemen conflict to the negotiation table. In compliance with UN terms, the Yemeni government has started forming a delegation to negotiate with the Iranian-backed Houthi militia over the civil service file. However, the position of the Houthis is still unknown. Hans Grunberg's latest movements, which include the call of the UN Secretary-General with the Iranian Foreign Minister, as well as intensive contacts made by the UN and the US envoys in Sultanate of Oman, indicate that the Houthis may grant some flexibility in this file. In recent days, the government has also increased its interaction with political and military officials in the coalition, particularly the Saudi leadership. They discussed strategies for the two sides to work together and submitted government salary conditions in compliance with approved civil service documents. Observers believe that the current discussions to reboot the truce will not be easy. The Yemeni government views the Houthis' demands to be unreasonable and refuses to make concessions for free, stating that it is unable to give up the elements of its legitimacy in favor of the Houthi rebellion, despite Saudi willingness to finance civilian salaries. Departing from the current predicament and arriving at an expanded truce agreement seems far-fetched. Living conditions continue to deteriorate as the Houthi militia maintains control of resources and humanitarian supplies, harnessing them solely for the advantage of its military troops. It is up to the US and the European Union to pressure the Houthis to honor their commitments.
Local sources confirmed that the Houthi militia targeted Harib district southeast of Ma'rib. The sources reported that a number of citizens' homes were damaged, as well as state of fear and panic among the population. Local media said violent confrontations took place in Taiz between the government forces and the Houthi rebels. Military sources said the confrontations were in Ghurab front, west of the city. According to the sources, the confrontations resulted in the killing of a number of Houthi fighters, while 4 of them were injured. A woman was killed and others were injured in a fire that engulfed a house in Ma'rib. Camps of the displaced people in Ma'rib witnessed same fires. They usually result in victims, most of whom are women and children.
عرفت نفسي وأنا أشتغل في عمل الصيد. يعني ما يقارب عمري 14 سنة. أنا أعول 8 نفر في البيت. بالنسبة للدخل هو دخل يومي، تمام، على ما حول الله، أحيانا فوق أحيانا تحت أحيانا ما فيش. لو قدر الله واستوى شيء من خزان صافر وتسرب البترول، تمام، وأثر على الشعب المرجانية، نحن طبعا ما لناش أي شغلانة ثانية. يعني والصياد ما يشتغل شيء مكان، يشتغل البحر بس. احنا حياتنا بسيطة جدا. اللي نتمناه يعني النقطة الأهم والأهم الإسراع في تصليح خزان صافر قبل أن تنتهي الشعوب المرجانية.
The United Nations Office for Humanitarian Affairs in Yemen has issued a new warning that 20 new health facilities could be closed due to lack of funding. This report has more details.
The United Nations Humanitarian Affairs recently warned of the potential closure of 20 new health facilities due to a lack of funding. This development would cause 800,000 women and girls to lose healthcare services and would weaken control over the follow-up to the spread of polio, cholera, measles, and dengue fever. Funding shortfalls have also hampered infectious disease prevention, response, and surveillance efforts for polio, cholera, measles, dengue, and diphtheria. According to the international organization, these facilities can be stopped due to a lack of funding, which greatly increases the possibility of disease outbreak and puts the lives of 18 million people at risk. Yemen's health sector is suffering as a result of the country's long-running military war, economic decline, and institutional collapse. Functional health infrastructure has grown increasingly limited under the weight of the conflict. Only 50% of health institutions are completely operational now, and more than 80% of the population has difficulty obtaining food and drinking water or gaining access to healthcare. Healthcare provision is severely hampered by a lack of human resources and materials, and the conflict has crippled healthcare governance. Medical personnel in particular have been victims of the conflict in other ways. According to a report issued by the Yemeni Network for Rights and Freedoms, the Iran-backed Houthi militia committed 5,120 violations, targeting health facilities, hospitals, and health workers from the beginning of January 2018 to March 2022. The direct killing and injury of medical personnel and paramedics, physical assaults, arrests, forced disappearances of doctors and nurses, direct targeting of a number of facilities with mortars, artillery, and Katyusha rockets, and the sale of medication on the black market were among the recorded violations.
The National Cancer Control Foundation in Aden launched a mobile clinic for the early detection of breast cancer. This report has more details.
In a medical humanitarian initiative, the National Cancer Control Foundation in Aden, with the support and funding of the Communication Foundation for Human Development, implemented the Mobile Car Project for early detection of breast cancer, a mobile campaign moving between different districts of the governorate, which is the first of its kind, carrying its mission to motivate women to undergo an early breast cancer detection. Mariam, like other women, has benefited from the health services provided by the mobile clinic for early breast cancer screening.
Honestly, this project is very nice. They are helping us a lot, providing medical services for all the women here in the area. They are also raising awareness about breast cancer and how should women take good care of their health conditions.
The mobile clinic is a brilliant idea that we've been trying to work on for so long. Thanks to Al Tawasul organization, we were able to implement the project. We are targeting districts and areas where women can't reach our medical centers, located in Krida district, for early detection. Most of the women here are already suffering from the hard living conditions.
The humanitarian project that coincides with breast cancer awareness activities, targeting residents of remote areas and displacement camps, and women who are unable to obtain early detection service in light of the difficult economic conditions. At a high rate, the medical team implements its medical and awareness activities with the aim of spreading awareness, avoiding the risks of contracting this disease, and eliminating feelings of anxiety among some women.
ضمن فعاليات نحن هذه قمنا
As part of our event, we cooperated with the Breast Cancer Organization to provide women with an early detection service for breast cancer disease and to raise the awareness here in the area. We're trying to protect women from the dangers of this disease that threaten their lives.
Concentrated efforts to work together in the process of raising awareness about the importance of early detection and the dangers of cancer that require the continuity of such awareness campaigns among members of the society so that everyone can enjoy a healthy and safe life, finding some hope to live for.
Medical sources confirmed that more death cases were reported among leukemia children in one of the hospitals in the capital, Sana'a. The reports indicated that 18 children were dead after being injected with expired chemical drug. Coming next in the news. Yemeni photo exhibition in Cairo documents childhood over decades. Welcome back. In the Egyptian capital, Cairo, a photo exhibition was held, which includes photos of children in Yemen. This report has more details.
The childhood exhibition of Yemen is the best witness to the content of the place and time, taking you with its details and snapshots to live different moments and memories. The exhibition was firstly established in 1950 at the Opera House in the Egyptian capital, Cairo, to embody memories of childhood in pictures, for the first time taken by 3 French scientists and 2 Yemeni people who were interested in education and heritage.
هو عبارة عن مجموعة صور من أرشيف دار البحر المتوسط.
These pictures were collected from the archive of the Mediterranean Sea home at Aix-Marseille University. They arranged this with the Arab and Islamic Research Institute in France, and they organized this exhibition in the Yemeni Culture Center in Cairo.
These pictures belong to 3 Frenchmen. Researchers and Yemeni people have contributed to taking these pictures too.
The exhibition summarized several time periods of a childhood stages since birth in a society that colored its heritage and nature, with a visual record of rare photos and moments that witnessed the history of people from different regions to salient the identity of the Yemeni heritage.
تم عملية نقل لهذه الأوراق.
These pictures were transferred through the father of the martyr Muhammad Ahmed Nu'man, when he appealed to late President Gamal Abdel Nasser to release him from his enforced stay in Egypt. He accepted and he let him go in 72 hours, and he left with these files to Beirut.
The exhibition has also presented artistic performances by Yemeni musicians to let the audience live in the atmosphere of Yemen between the past and the present. The past, which is not far away, has shown the life of children with its simplicity combined with a smile of hope, and innocence of a dream. The war came to steal from the children their simplest dreams and their unrelenting spring. Memories of a childhood with its unique moments and events shape the future of tomorrow's men and their heritage. Memories that do not die but pound through these images to revive the hope for restoring security and stability to the lives of the Yemeni children.
The World Health Organization said that 8 million Yemenis suffer from psychological problems as a result of the 8-year conflict. The United Nations stated and said in a report that mental illness is one of the most common health conditions in Yemen due to the 8-year armed conflict and the collapsed economy. The Safe Space for Women and Girls Foundation in Hais, south of Hodeidah, organized an event on the occasion of Mental Health Day. The event, which is celebrated by the world on October 10, aimed at introducing the importance of mental health to reduce stress, especially in light of the conflict.
ويعتبر الاحتفال في هذا اليوم
We celebrate this day because we express the importance of the psychological stability in the lives of individuals, especially the Yemeni people, looking at the widespread low-grade notion regarding the psychological patient. The patient with psychological illness is generally stigmatized. The family, in turn, will deny any existence of the psychological illness within it, especially among women and girls who are stigmatized. So we urge them to come to the clinic to have consultations. We have provided many medicines and tools to decrease the psychological pressures in the simplest of ways.
The psychological disruptions have increased due to the conflict. These disruptions and problems have affected the social bonds and have affected the people. They increased the illness in the body and the psychology as well. As a result, many people go to sorcery. This have doubled the problem. The society and the authorities have to address this issue.
Yemenis are still suffering the devastating consequences of the war that has killed thousands of people. This report has more details.
كنت أكسر وأحطم وأضارب أولادي وأسمع الأصوات من كل مكان يعني أتخيل هنا حقيقي.
In Yemen, the long years of war, which have resulted in the destruction of homes, loss of lives, displacement of thousands, and deterioration of economic and living conditions have taken a toll on people's mental health. Most people with mental health issues in Yemen often seek support and treatment at a late stage, when their symptoms are already impacting them and their families' lives. Many patients do not recognize the early symptoms and only become aware of them at a later stage. This is largely due to the lack of awareness of mental health disorders, and this can lead to severe consequences and worsen their mental and health conditions. Some associate mental health issues with superstitions and sorcery, and they usually resort to other traditional means before seeking medical support at clinics. Some people live in denial, and they refuse to believe in mental illness, as people link it to madness and stigmatization, which also further discourages the patients and their families from seeking help. The scene in Yemen today describes the health sector status, which has been suffering deterioration since the beginning of the war. The health sector is facing challenges in provision and aid, which resulted in the function of only 50% of health facilities. The MSF Mental Health Clinic in Hajjah receives about 400 patients per month, men amount to around 70% of the patients, which indicates challenges facing women in accessing mental health services, some of which might be related to social and family restrictions. Women need the support of their husbands or families to receive treatment, and it is the international organizations' role, which are concerned with these issues, to raise awareness and highlight the importance of mental health care in the communities by conducting regular education sessions in various departments of hospitals and clinics to educate the parents, families of patients, and anyone who is involved in the patients' lives.
Here's a reminder of the main headlines. Intensive regional and international diplomatic efforts aim to revive Yemen's truce. Government forces clash with Houthi rebels on Taiz front. UN warns the 20 health facilities to close in Yemen due to funding crisis. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.